So Marvel Studios hasn't been doing that well lately. Once upon a time, they were cranking out hit after hit after hit like it was easy, but after Avengers Endgame, things started going sideways and it's never really stopped. The quality dropped off a cliff, so many of their projects are plagued with issues, high-profile flops, which they never had to worry about before, have now been normalized. There have been a few bangers sprinkled in there, but generally things just haven't been going in a good direction. Where people used to go in expecting Marvel movies to be fun, now they watch expecting to get lectured about how politicians need to do better, or how men who tell women to smile are evil pieces of garbage if they watch them at all, and excitement for the MCU has deflated so much since the last time the Avengers graced the big screen that it's kinda sad. But then along comes Deadpool and Wolverine, and it's as if a switch got flipped. I have seen nothing but hype and excitement and buzz for this movie. Fans who'd fallen off the Marvel bandwagon getting pumped up for it like they haven't been in a long time. People who have been burned out on comic book movies saying they're gonna come back for this one. And why is that? Is it because fans trust the Deadpool movies to be good by now? Is it because fans wanted this chance to say goodbye to the Fox movie era? Is it because Deadpool was finally getting that team-up adventure with his one true love, Hugh Jackman? Is it because Marvel was mostly hands-off and just let Ryan Reynolds and his team do their thing? That was probably it, to be honest with you. Whatever the reason was, Deadpool and Wolverine seem to have bucked the trend and been immune to all the negativity surrounding Marvel right now. Hell, I've been pretty down on Marvel recently, but I went to see this thing positive that I was going to enjoy myself. And will it be the movie that saves the MCU like some people have been saying? No, but it was in a position to change the conversation a little bit. What's so great about this movie is that it gets to tell a fun story in the Marvel Cinematic Universe while also being in the unique position to mock, poke fun at, and absolutely tear to shreds everything about the current Marvel product that people don't like. In a jokey way, yeah, but Deadpool definitely understood the assignment here.
I am Marvel Jesus.
And at the same time, it was also tasked with wrapping up the Fox era and helping fans say goodbye to that, which it was shockingly effective at doing. This thing felt like a love letter to the Fox movies, and simultaneously a very honest admission about how some of them weren't very good. And I don't just mean the Fox X-Men movies, I mean all the Fox movies. Even ones you might not be thinking about or have tried to forget for obvious reasons. Buckle up for those cameos. And on top of all that, it's also incorporating MCU continuity to do these things, so needless to say, there's a lot going on in this movie. You wouldn't know by watching it though. The story is actually pretty simple, but it's deceptively smart. For example, it's a multiverse story involving the TVA from the Loki show, and some people on social media were complaining about having to do homework again. Well, don't worry, Deadpool's got you covered. There's no homework necessary. The movie tells you everything you need to know in one 2-minute scene. There is one episode of Loki that would give you some extra context if you wanted to watch it, which the movie even makes a joke about, but there's nothing you need to know going in. Now compare that to something like The Marvels, where the homework was a movie and 3 different Disney Plus shows, and even if you watched all of them, you were still f***ing confused, and you'll start to see why this movie works, and that one didn't. Not the only reason, by the way. Something else the movie has going for it is that it's able to take a bunch of ideas and concepts that have been dragging the Marvel product down as they tried and failed to build narratives around them for years now, and make fun of how badly these things have shit the bed. There is literally a scene, and I couldn't believe Marvel let them do this, dedicated to pointing out how f***ing stupid the multiverse is and how doing an entire saga of movies and shows about it has just not worked. Deadpool goes on a rant about how much the multiverse sucks, and it was f***ing beautiful.
This shit has gone on way too long. Marvel's been taking L after L after L, and it's time for the multiverse to f***ing stop.
Oh. Hell yeah! Talk dirty to me, Deadpool!
Get ready to blow out your collective sphincters.
Oh my god, I wanted to jump out of my seat and cheer, because it's everything I've been saying about this multiverse garbage for the last year and a half! The thing is though, it's a really weird elephant in the room to put out there, to flat out say how badly Marvel has bungled this multiverse thing when they're still years away from ending their multiverse saga. If you're Kevin Feige, what the hell do you do now? You can't just go back to business as usual usual, Wade just told us why that doesn't work. Hire better writers, I guess. But hey, kudos for having a sense of humor about yourselves in the meantime. And holy moly, is it refreshing to have a Marvel movie where the humor is actually funny? F***ing hell, it's been a while since we had one of those. It feels like as the MCU has leaned harder into comedy over time, the jokes have just gotten worse and worse, hence why I've been beating the drum that it's time to pivot and get more serious. So how nice to finally have a Marvel project that knows how to get a f***ing laugh. I'm not gonna spoil anything, but man, the opening title sequence alone, I laughed my ass off. And that was just the first few minutes. There are jokes on top of jokes on top of jokes in this thing, and a good 90% of them land great. But it's not just the jokes that make it fun. There's a deeper level to this too. And there's a line from Deadpool in there that sums up perfectly why I think people are gonna love this movie, whereas so much of Marvel's other recent stuff has missed the mark. I make everything a joke, but I care. I make everything a joke, but I care. Emphasis on that last word, because even with the sheer metric ton of jokes in this film, that's not all it has to offer. Believe it or not, there are moments when they put the jokes aside and just act candid and talk about Deadpool wanting to save the people he loves, or Logan being sad because of all these regrets that he has and how he failed everyone, and these are some of the most effective scenes in the movie. Like, there's a scene with Logan and X-23 that really got me. Like, damn, I didn't expect to feel emotions in a Deadpool movie, but here we are. They're actually being serious and emoting about real stuff. Yes, Deadpool does this too, and it works. And even though these scenes are usually immediately followed by 10 rapid-fire jokes in a row, they are genuine. They have heart. In these moments, you can see that it wasn't enough for them to just be funny. The filmmakers cared about the characters and wanted to do something meaningful with them, as opposed to something like Thor: Love and Thunder, which turned a woman dying of cancer into a fucking sitcom, or, again, The Marvels, which felt like no one involved with the movie even gave a shit about it. Not so in this case. You can tell this movie was a labor of love from all the obvious effort that was put in. You can tell from the writing. You can tell from the action. I like the action a lot. There are two sequences in particular that are really damn good. And after seeing those, I understand why Feige wanted Sean Levy, the director, to do an Avengers movie before that fell through. Because the way he shoots action scenes, the way he edits them and moves the camera, and the creative ways he stages things reminded me a lot of what James Gunn did with Guardians of the Galaxy. And you're in good f***ing company if I can make that comparison. But I think what got me the most about this was not just how endearing it felt in being excited to be a part of the MCU, regardless of how fans feel about that these days, and the quality of the MCU being what it is lately, but also how happy the movie was to have been a part of the Fox era, even though, yes, it wasn't always the best or even good, which the movie is honest about. There's nothing mean-spirited here. Yeah, it pokes fun at these things, but it's a movie that's just happy to be included, and there's something really charming about that. So when they start dropping Easter eggs and the cameos start rolling in, it kind of feels like a big party. Like, let's bring back these characters that people loved or maybe didn't love, or bring in ones who never got a chance in the first place and give them one last opportunity to do some cool shit. And when that happens, it's a really good time. Even when they bring back characters whose own movies frankly sucked, characters who I don't think there was any desire in the fan community for them to ever come back, it somehow still feels good to see them again, with one exception. Opinions may vary on this, but this was the one part where I think the movie really just swung and missed, and there's no way I can talk about this without spoilers, so here we go. If you don't want to be spoiled, there's your warning. Channing Tatum's Gambit. That was a thing that happened, wasn't it? Oh boy. Look. Channing Tatum tried to get a Gambit solo movie made for years. He's a fan like us. I'm happy for him that he finally got to play the character. But this... wow, this didn't work. The costume, comics accurate though it may be, looked ridiculous. I'm sorry, that suit does not translate to live action. It looked like cosplay, and not even good cosplay either. And it didn't even fit him properly. It was weirdly bulky around the chest and not flattering at all. It made him look chubby, frankly. And the accent was so weird and cringy. I'm not saying he didn't work hard on it. Maybe he did, I don't know. But it was comically exaggerated. There's even a bit where the other characters can't understand what he's saying because of the accent, which was one of the few jokes in the movie that just didn't land. Hell, I couldn't understand him either, and I wanted to. That was the problem. That's why it wasn't funny. Gambit is supposed to be the cool, charismatic dude, and that's not what this was. He does well with the action, I guess. He does some fun stuff, gets to show off his agility. He's still a great fighter at least, so that was okay, but man, I could not get past the costume and the accent. It felt like a comedic parody of Gambit. And yes, the irony of complaining about that in a Deadpool movie is not lost on me. I don't care. This is the one hill I'm gonna die on, damn it. I think what happened here is that Tatum was playing a more cartoonish version of Gambit from X-Men the Animated Series, which was already kind of a cartoonish version of the character to begin with, and it just didn't work for me. Especially when the other cameos are playing it straight. It stood out. It stood out, and not in a good way. To be honest, it made me miss Taylor Kitsch's Gambit from X-Men Origins Wolverine. One of the few things about that movie I thought was alright. Channing Tatum looked like he was having fun with it, but you wouldn't take this Gambit seriously for a second in a different movie. I'm glad he got that monkey off his back finally. As a John Krasinski, Reed Richards type of fan servicey appearance, I can live with it, but this is not the version of Gambit I want for the MCU, so let's leave it in the past and move on. I don't have any other major complaints though. The plot is very simple, but you don't need anything super complex for a film like this. Cassandra Nova is more conventionally attractive, less creepy, and a few decades younger than she should be, but that's movies for you. I like the actress, so there's that. Honestly, aside from the portrayal, we're really just talking nitpicks here. I'm not saying the movie's perfect, it isn't. There are flaws I could point to, but none of those things mattered to me that much because of all the stuff it got right. I mean, finally seeing Wolverine in the yellow suit after all these years, that buys you a lot of goodwill. And FYI, it's not just the suit. There's more of it than we saw in the trailers. Hint. And that's the kind of stuff this movie is so good at. You could tell it was made by fans, for fans, that it really loves these characters and didn't have any kind of bullshit agenda attached to it, and if Marvel Studios and Kevin Feige learn one lesson from this movie, let that be it. I had a great time with Deadpool and Wolverine. It worked really hard to be a satisfying goodbye to the Fox era and an entry point to the MCU at the same time. It was very self-aware about how stupid and terrible certain aspects of both those franchises are. It gets huge respect points for that. I think fans will really get a kick out of this. Even fans who have been fed up with the MCU can have fun with it because the movie is self-aware about that too. They covered all the bases here. And it's not gonna be the film that saves the MCU or anything. It'll take more than one movie to do that. But if that's the goal Feige's working towards, you're likely not gonna get a better starting point than this. Thanks so much for watching. While you're here, ding that bell icon and follow my social media so you can always be notified when I upload new stuff. The links are down there. And don't forget to do all the other YouTube things. Hit that like button, leave a comment, share the video, subscribe if you haven't already, and make sure you're still subscribed because what really deserves to be stabbed in the junk by Wolverine's claws over and over and over again is the YouTube algorithm. That's all for now. I'll be back with more soon. Take care, stay tuned. I'll see you next time.